Oke, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We're
Waalaikumsalam
from Group
warahmatullahi
1 of Anthropology Linguistic. And we're here to present our material about anthropology linguistics. Before we begin, I would like to introduce the members of our group: Rizna Nuryanti, Devi Aisyah Putri, Muhammad Ikram Ikhbatullah, Jeremiah Laupa, Kansa Faiz, Andi Islah Hanif, and Ari Laksamana Putra. Okay, without further ado, I would like the first speaker to present her material. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to explain what is linguistic anthropology. So, linguistic anthropology draws from a remarkable combination of disciplines, taking its cue from the even broader disciplines of anthropology, of which it is a part. Linguistic anthropology reaches out in every direction to make sense of language in every sense of the word. Linguistic anthropology is the anthropological subfield that focuses on language and its importance to understanding human history, culture, and biology. Linguistic anthropology shares many overlapping interests with linguistics in general, but it's characterized by an emphasis of fieldwork to connection to larger anthropological understanding of human. In book, The Anthropology of Language explain that linguistic anthropology goes beyond analyzing the structure patterning of language or a central focus of linguistics to examine the context and situations in which language is used. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rizna Nuryanti. Next up, the second speaker. Okay, without any further ado, time is yours.
Okay, the second one is anthropology is holistic. Anthropology is holistic because it's concerned with seeing the whole picture, with finding all the parts of the human puzzle and putting them together in a way that makes sense. Anthropology can be divided to 4 sub-disciplines, and each of these disciplines addresses different aspects of humanity. The first one is cultural anthropology. It's the study of information, behavior, and ideas that are passed down from one generation of humans to the next. Second one is linguistic anthropology, the study of language and how language expresses the human experience to the world. Third is archaeology anthropology. It's the study of the remains of past people and their cultures. The last is physical anthropology. It's the study of how the biology of human beings develops and varies. For example, to understand the Japanese tea ceremony, anthropologists might investigate Japanese religion, aesthetic, and history, as well as the economy, social relations, and the politics of gender. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andi Islah. Next, the next speaker will be presented by me. Anthropology is comparative, refers to its goals of gathering and comparing information from many cultures, time, and place, including our own. In a sense, we all do anthropology because it is rooted in a universal human characteristic, curiosity about ourselves and other people living in that here and across the globe. The science of anthropology begins with a simple but enormously powerful idea that any particular aspect aspect of our behavior can be fully understood only when it is placed against the background provided by the full range of human behavior. This is the comparative perspective, the attempt to explain both similarities and difference among people in the context of humanity as a whole. Anthropology seeks to uncover the principles governing human behavior that are applicable to all human communities, not just to a select few of them. The power of the comparative perspective can be illustrated by imagining that you have lived your whole life in a world with only one color, all your food, all objects, all plants and animals, all a single shade of, say, red. In such a world, you will obviously have no understanding of any other colors of blue or the yellow or green. But isn't it also true that you will have no real understanding of the color red or even the concept of color itself without the ability to compare one color with all the other colors of the rainbow? I think that's all from me. Next, I will let the next speaker to present their material.
The part of Bo's legacy is linguistic anthropology continued reliance on fieldwork as primary source of data. Although it is possible to learn the fundamentals of a language in a classroom or from a tutor or from a book, none of these approaches provide a full picture of the way that language is actually used. Example, you can pick the word you need out of a dictionary and string them together in accordance with the appropriate grammatical rules. But unless you learn to speak among actual speakers of a language, you will never know whether dope means dumb or good, or how many appropriate ways you can use use the word dude. The fact that word can and can shift their meaning depending on situation and on who is saying what to whom and why. This is the material from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeremiah. I will let the next speakers to present their material. The time is yours.
Okay, now about anthropology and ethics. In fact, what I mean, especially for linguistic and cultural anthropologists, is living another place among people who are different from you on their own terms, learning and speaking their language, enjoying insofar as possible and sense of how the world appears through their eyes, how to speak about the world and they might. Ethic in anthropology basically reflects general moral principles of what is bad and what is good in terms of what one should not do and what one should do as a professional in the disciplines. However, in practice, the emphasis is mostly on the negative. This is, in essence, to avoid harm, and most of all to research subjects, often concerns with professional ethic within anthropology has been more active than proactive, and more a matter of defensive maneuvering to save face in public on the part of the individuals and organizations involved, rather than grappling with the issues head on, let alone resolving them constructively and conclusively. ethical concerns, and sometimes even actions such as new codes or revision of previous one. Intensive during periods when controversies and scandals erupt, especially if they reach the general public to threaten the image of the profession. Throughout the history of anthropology during the 20th century and into the present one, many of the ethical controversies and some scandal as well have occurred in connect with research associated with war, especially secret or clandestine war. Politics is usually involved as well, aggravating the difficulty and hate in issues. But there are numerous and diverse cases of ethical problems beyond the association with war as well, because ethical dilemmas and choice are inevitable in many different kind of situations. Most anthropologists try to be ethical in their own work, even if they do not become engaged in controversy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ari. Okay, next I will let the next speakers to present their materials. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time. I will explain about theoretical linguistics. It is the broad area of language science that tries to come up with theories on language. Traditionally, it was divided into syntax. In the syntax, there is parasal structure and hierarchy. In the semantics, that is meanings, context, and intention. Then in the morphology, there are the structure of words. Then phonology, the sound structure of language, structure thereof, and the last is phonetics, that is studying the acoustic and articulatory properties of sounds themselves. Under 19x0 stock, these neat divisions don't make sense anymore. Almost everyone who comes up with theories of phonology use morphology to come up with paradigms for phonological alternations. For example, adding tion to English noun shifts the stress to the penultimate position. Become cheddar as well. As technology improved, phoneticians have been able to demonstrate that many phonological rules, like palatalization, can be triggered by acoustic change to a stimulus. There are no phonologists anymore who completely ignore phonetics. Then in morphology, the internal structure of words can be explained using the same models as explaining the structure of sentence. In fact, a lot of morphologists and syntacticians now spend their careers tweaking the theory of distributed morphology and things like mirror theory. Essentially, they are doing syntax with morphology or morphology with syntax. Within the field of syntax, phenomenon like agreement paradigma, like the verb reflecting the person, like I read versus he read as, have gotten a lot of attention and been incorporated into many theories. Only the most radical proponents of choosing everything that is not universal out as a third order effect have to deal with some morphology in their syntax. In the semantics and syntax are also fairly linked in both generative approach and functionalist approach like HPSG. Both theories have to able to deal with meaning interfacing with syntax at some level in the human brain. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all from I think that's all the material from our group. Thank you for watching. I will have, yeah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.